We're joined now by Jim Jordan. He is a congressman, sits on the House Judiciary Committee, does a lot of sports fandom as well. He's been on the show a couple of times before. This is a crazy night. How much did you sleep, Congressman?
Went to bed about a little before 4 and got up about, 45 minutes ago and looking at the news. So how about you, bro? I assume you're about the same, man. You had to get up earlier because you started the show a few hours ago.
Yeah, I slept for 1 hour. So if my questions are poor, it's because the brain doesn't work as well on 1 hour of sleep as it would on normal nights. So So you're in Ohio. It was a wild night. How did as a congressman, how do you spend that time watching? Are you at your house? Are you at a particular location? What's your election night experience?
Just my wife and I, and then our good friends. So we just four of us sitting there watching the TV, looking on our phones, looking on the laptop, and getting all the information. Kind of like a guy who's covering sports, I assume. Just looking at all the scores and going from there. And it was, we picked up seats in the House. The Senate's going to stay in Republican hands, and I think the president still is going to win. We just got to wait for these final state numbers to come in, and we'll see.
How long do you think it takes for a final judgment to be rendered on what exactly happened on election night 2020?
It's anyone's guess, but I got to take I said this a couple months ago. Said it back in July. First time in the nation's history where you had a party actively try to seek and win the election after the election. Never happened in history. They actually this was their goal, to win the election after the election for Democrats. We'll see how that plays out. I'm very nervous about possible fraud in Nevada and Pennsylvania. We've always been concerned about that, but we're just going to have to wait and see. But like I said, right now we know the House is going to pick up seats. The Senate is going to stay in Republican hands. And the president's path, I think, is still strong, and hopefully he's going to win because he deserves it based on what he's done for the country in the last 4 years.
All right, so if the election ends up with uncertainty at the presidency, but you've got a Republican Senate, what does that look like for the average person out there looking? It's clear, regardless, we are as close to a 50-50 nation as we could possibly be, right? Like half the nation voted for Republicans, half the nation voted for Democrats. It's almost impossible for it to have been any closer as a collective whole on the nation. So what does that look like? Like for the next 2 years? I was talking to my kids because I do think that at some point reconciliation has to happen after an election where everybody says, okay, we've got some results in. We've got to figure out exactly how to come together and try to make things better, whether you're Republican, Democrat, whatever else. To my sort of layman's look at this, it means that we're going to end up with a relatively moderate situation because you can't really do very much if the Republicans have the Senate and the Democrats, let's say, have the White House. It's really kind of a stalemate still, right?
Well, the main takeaway is the Democrats won't be able to fundamentally change the structure and framework of our government. Because remember what they're saying. They're saying if they had the Senate, Clay, they're going to pack the court. They're going to add seats to the Supreme Court, take it to 13, take it to 15, whatever number they were going to take it to. So they won't be able to do that. They won't be able to move this to electoral college, start going after the electoral college. They won't get rid of the filibuster in the Senate. So those are good safeguards for your liberty, for your freedom. That, to me, is the main takeaway with having the United States Senate. The other big takeaway from last night, I think, is the gains the Republican Party are making with Latino voters, with African Americans, the good women candidates we ran who won in House of Representative races, and frankly, just how far off the pollsters are.
Yeah.
They were wrong everywhere, across the board, because this is supposed to be a blowout for Democrats. They were supposed to win everything, run away with the White House, run away with the Senate, increase seats in the House. The pollsters were wrong across the board, even though Democrats had all the money on their side. That to me was also a big takeaway. But the main takeaway is they're not going to be able to attack the structure of our government, which is good for your freedom.
We're talking to Jim Jordan, Congressman from Ohio. Polling, right? You're a politician. I'm sure you have spent a lot of money on polls over your career. And probably now you're sitting back saying, my God, what have I been giving money away for? Maybe your pollsters are a little bit better. But to me, one of the biggest stories coming out of last night's election, also in conjunction with 2016, is polling is fundamentally broken. There is, I mean, we had, like in your state of Ohio, there were people who were saying, oh, Biden's going to win Ohio by 5 points. There were some polls that were saying that. Yeah. And I don't know what the final is going to be, but it looks like the president's going to win Ohio by 7 or 8 or 9 points. I mean, that's a double-digit error. Is polling dead? Yeah. Like, are you ever going to look at polls in any way as reliable indicators anymore?
Well, there were a few who got it right, but the reason it's so wrong in a broad sense is because of the issue you've been so good about talking about, Clay, and that is the cancel culture environment we live in. When people are afraid of speaking out. Remember, Cato did a survey, Clay, and they found in their survey, and if you could trust this, and I think you can because it wasn't per se political, Cato does a survey, and they asked Americans, do you feel safe speaking out in the cancel culture world? 62% of Americans said they were reluctant to express their opinion. So think about it. If you're reluctant to express your opinion because you're afraid of the mob, might you be a little less than straightforward on a poll, particularly a poll that's asking about Donald Trump, one of the most controversial figures in American politics ever? So this pollster, I think, is directly attributable to the cancel culture, this mob mentality out there that is so bad for our country. And that, to me, is the biggest threat to our liberty right now, is what the mob will do to you if you don't go along with their groupthink, go along with their politically correct thinking. And that's why I believe the pollsters were so wrong.
So what the process here now that we're waking up on the Wednesday after the election and there's still a lot of different counting going on and everything else, what do you think? Like, how long does this process take? So if you go back to 2000 with Florida, in 2000 it took 37 days to figure out exactly what the overall outcome was going to be. There's now multiple different states where it's super tight, and knowing exactly what's going to happen is difficult. What do you foresee happening?
I think it's anyone's guess. I think it's unfortunate that the country is going to have to, live through it, waiting longer to find out who our next president's going to be. But I don't know that there is a short answer. I wish it would happen soon, but I think we're just going to have to wait and see. I assume there's going to be lots of lawyers involved. And I'm sure some actions in various levels of our court system, and ultimately maybe even something at the Supreme Court. The president alluded to that last night in his comments. So we'll just have to wait and see. And my guess is there are people heading to Harrisburg, people heading to Madison, Wisconsin, and people heading to Lansing, Michigan, or probably people already there from both parties.
Congressman Jordan, what does today look like for you? What will you do?
Well, I'm gonna probably take a nap at some point.
Yeah, join the club.
Continue to watch the results. Yeah, make a lot of phone calls, and then if I feel good this afternoon and there's nothing else going on, I'll sneak out and play a couple holes of golf before I have to do some interviews later this afternoon and evening. I assume that's what I'll do. But I'll be on the phone a lot today with new colleagues coming in and talking with Leader McCarthy, figuring out exactly where our numbers are going to be and a number of issues as we head into back into Washington here in a couple of weeks.
You ever got a hole-in-one before?
I have not. Played decent yesterday. Snuck out and played a little bit yesterday because you're just sitting around waiting for the results in the afternoon. For an ex-wrestler, I actually hit the ball pretty well yesterday. So we'll see. We
got a little bit of a good weather going on. I mean, so maybe you can get out. Good luck. Maybe today will be the hole-in-one day.
Well, let's hope so. It's supposed to be close to 70 in Ohio, which is nice and warm for this time of year. So.
No doubt. That's
the main thing is we want the president to win. We want the president to come to make sure he can win these key states, and we'll just hope that it happens.
We're talking. Thank you for getting up early with us after a late night.
You bet.
That's Congressman Jim Jordan, really good guy who is representing the state of Ohio, and he's on the House Judiciary Committee. Just a good guy in general. He and I overlap in a big way when it comes to the importance of holding tech companies accountable, regardless of your politics, and also on the awfulness of cancel culture and what it can represent. So we have a lot in common there.